The relationship between looking back at the past and forward to the future and being present. That is going to be the topic of this episode of Chi Life. It's common for people who practice different types of mindful practices to put a lot of emphasis on what is commonly referred to as being present, experiencing the present moment, what's actually going on right now. And in relationship to that, there can be a tendency sometimes for them to look negatively on looking at the past and looking at the future. And it's definitely true that being preoccupied and constantly looking at the past can stop you from experiencing the present moment, your current experience, fully. Equally, constantly projecting too far into the future, looking too much at what may or may not happen in the future, because this is one of the other issues with looking to the future, is we're projecting forwards. We don't actually know what's going to happen in the future, and so we're sort of creating an idea of what may happen in the future. Doing too much of that, again, can put your focus strongly into a time other than right now. And so that's definitely true. But is it always a negative thing to look at the past and forwards to the future? Does that always detract from being present, from experiencing the present moment? Or is it perhaps actually possibly sometimes useful and can, in a sense, actually help us to be more present? That's what I'm going to talk about in this vlog. It's maybe not the normal view taken of this, but with so many things in life, if we go all the way to an absolute extreme, we actually miss the point, and we distort our understanding of the true principles that we're working with. And this is an example of the philosophy, the Taiji philosophy, the philosophy of yin and yang, where we find whenever we move towards the extremes, so towards the extreme of yin, we find the seed of yang. Towards the extreme of yang, we find the seed of yin. So we never actually deal with those as absolutes. We deal with them as contrasts, and the true value in working with these opposite concepts is in finding a balance and a harmony between them. And I think there's also a balance and a harmony to be found between being present in the present moment and looking at the past and also at the future. I don't think it's an absolute thing. Sometimes when people focus too much on simply being present, it loses context. Now, I'll come back to that in a moment. I'll tell you why I was, inspired to make this vlog, what sort of made me think about this topic. So I've just published a yearly review, an annual review of what's been happening with Long White Cloud Qigong, which is my Qigong school, where I teach lots of Qigong, lots of online courses at the moment, because live teaching hasn't really been a practical thing for the last little while. And to do a yearly review, I have to look back at the year. I have to look back at what's happened, and it's been a tough year in many ways. A lot of things in the year haven't been entirely positive. They've been challenging, they've been difficult in different ways, and I haven't been able to do all the things I wanted to do, all the things I hoped to do. And then looking back, because I've made this a tradition with my Qigong school to do an annual review every year to sort of recap the past year and also to look forward to what's coming up in the next year. So if I also look back at the previous year, well, it was also a challenging year. And, going through reviewing the year, looking at the challenges and the successes, it can feel a little bit like, man, do I even necessarily want to publish this? Because, there can be a tendency to always want to publish things that are positive, to just talk about things that are positive. But life isn't always positive. It has its ups and downs, its highs and its lows, its positives and its negatives. And I try to be pretty open with everyone that I interact with. Now, and that includes my students, my potential students in my Qigong school. Now, that doesn't mean oversharing every little detail of what's going on in my personal life or anything like that. But certainly in broad brushstrokes, letting people know what's going on, knowing what has been accomplished, what hasn't, and why. Letting them know about the successes as well as some of the challenges that might be occurring as well. And for me, I think that's, it's part of being open and honest, which I guess is something that I value highly. And it's also about presenting a realistic view and perspective on the world. I think it's too often that people, particularly when they're trying to promote something, tend to go all on the positive, and that can give a distorted sense of reality. I mean, the classic is the rise of social media and the issues with, people trying to present a perfect sort of a life, and the challenges this causes with people's self-esteem and expectations and so on. And so, in a very broad way, I try to present things realistically, straight up, straightforward. Because that means people know what to expect. I think it develops trust as well. People, they know if there's an issue, you're going to be straight up, you're going to tell them. It creates this balanced view of life, because the reality is there's bitter, there's sweet. Sometimes things are easy and sometimes things are tough. But when you look back and it's like, the balance is maybe tilting a little bit far towards the tough, sometimes you can wonder, well, is that even worth sharing? Maybe I'll skip it this year. But I think there's still value in it. And that, of course, is why I did end up doing that. And it made me think a little bit more about, well, what is that value? In the scheme of things, where is that value? Because no one wants to focus too much on the negative. Certainly not. I don't think that's helpful at all. But there definitely is value in this process of stepping back and taking a wider view of what's going on in your life and what your experience has been over a period of time. And I think, if anything, this helps with the experience of being present. So I'll explain why a little bit. If we focus too much on just being present in the present moment, to the point of excluding our awareness of the past and also of where we may be headed in the future, I think this can be disorienting. Because the reality of life is that we do have a past, and we are headed somewhere, even if that is we're actually stagnant and we're not moving much at all. That in itself, that is a heading for our life. And if we don't understand those things, it's much harder for us to have a clear perspective of where we are right now. It might be a little bit like walking around with my eyes closed or blindfolded and just, yeah, I'm experiencing stuff, but I don't really have a context to place that within. When we are able to broaden our perspective, to step back, we can be very aware of our current experience, and we can also have some context of why we're experiencing some of the things that we are right now, and that can help us to understand them better. It can actually help us to be more present to that moment. So I think it's a great tradition, and I make myself keep doing it, even the years that I don't like to have a review of the past, and also sort of a little bit of a look forward at the future. What am I planning in the future? Because it helps me to orient myself in my present experience. Yeah, quite aside from the information that it provides to other people as well, right? It helps me to look back and gain perspective on what has happened in the past year. You know, when I do this, because again, I definitely don't want to dwell on the negative, but it helps me to recognize, you know, because sometimes if you're feeling negative about things, well, that can reinforce the tendency to dwell on the negative and think like, everything's been negative. But if you take a step back and go, okay, let's really look at what's happened during the year, often you'll find there have been positive things as well. And so you can go through and go, well, this positive thing happened, I achieved this, you know, this happened. And then at the same time, just be balanced, be honest with yourself. And there was this challenge and that challenge and these things that I wanted to do, I wasn't able to do for whatever reason. But it can help you to give perspective and then understand your current state much better. Similarly, looking forward to the future helps you to, because like it or not, you will do this. The reality is that time is a phenomena that we experience. Again, sometimes people, particularly if they consider what they're doing to be, you know, maybe a spiritual path, as you know, people sometimes refer to it, they want to go to absolutes, you know, and they like this idea of like, everything is a timeless now and so on. And that may be true, but does it correlate with your current experience? Probably not, or not fully, not in an everyday practical way. So while we may have an awareness of these lofty concepts and ideals, and within our practice we may experience glimpses of them, we also need to connect our practice, our understanding of life and the world around us, to our practical current experience. And during our mortal lives, that means time. Time is something that we experience. So we both have the past, and that affects us in the present, but also looking forwards, what we think about, our perspective of the future, what we think about for our future, what options we think we have in the future, what plans we have, also affects our current experience. Because in many, many, many subtle ways, just as we respond to our perspective of the past, we also respond to that perspective of the future. It is a really simple exercise, you know, if you want to demonstrate this to yourself. If you can, as a kind of a meditation, sit, quiet your mind, clear your mind, still your body, right? Because that's going to help you to tune in more to your experience and how you respond to different things. Take some time to do that, maybe slow your breathing down, and then create a vision for yourself of a really lovely, relaxing holiday in the future. Maybe somewhere sunny and warm, if that's what you like, or maybe somewhere cold, you know, if that's your preference as well. And then observe how your body responds to that, how your mind responds to that as well. There are clear physical changes within your body as you think about your future. You know, changes in the way your nerves function, your muscle tension, your hormones, your posture. All of these things can change as we consider what's coming up. If you want a contrast, I don't actually recommend you try this, but I'm sure you'll get the concept. And if you quiet your mind, calm your body, and then, think of getting into a really nasty argument or fight with someone in your future, oh yeah, look, you're going to have a whole lot of other responses because of something that you're perceiving as maybe something that may likely happen in the future. So both of these are valuable to us. Looking at the past, looking at the future, seeing what our perspective of that is will affect our ability to understand how we're responding right now, what we're experiencing right now. Because what we're experiencing right now is not just the physical experience of what's happening to us right now. It's also intimately, in a practical way, connected to our perspective of what's occurred in the past and our vision of what may occur in the future. And when we do this, it will broaden our perspective. It will help us in many ways to actually have a richer experience of what's happening right now. So with that in mind, I'll give you a bit of a view of where I am right now to give you a bit of a wider perspective. So I'm on this walking track and it's right by the sea, by this little beach here. I'm going up and down these grassy hills, and you would have seen at other points I'm walking through some trees and things like that. Now, of course, you've been seeing glimpses of this all along, as you've mainly maybe been looking at my face, around me. But you get a better perspective by taking a moment to actually pull back and look around. It gives you a lot more context and detail. And this is what taking that broader view of our life can do for ourselves as well. It can give us a chance to just take a step back and put context around what we're experiencing right now. And that can help us to have a richer experience of that. So, if you'd like to read that annual review, again, there's some positives, there's some negatives in there. It's been a tough year. But I will put a link to that in the description below. And look, I haven't dwelled on the negative, that's for sure. There's a lot contained and sometimes in a few words referring to a few things. And I have also tried to draw out the positive, the good things that have happened. And certainly I've also tried to create a realistic vision of what's likely to come in the future. Certainly in the context, because this wasn't a review of my entire life, right? This is a review of what's been happening with Long White Cloud Qigong, which is connected to my life, clearly, in quite a strong way. But, a vision of what's likely to occur in the coming year. Things that I can look forward to, and also things that other people who interact with Long White Cloud Qigong can look forward to as some of the things that might be coming up. So having said all this, I'll reiterate, we definitely don't want to get stuck dwelling on the past. We definitely don't want to have a habit of always projecting to the future. There's value in doing practices that help us to tune in more effectively in very tangible ways to our current experience, and Qigong is fantastic for that. The breathing exercises we do, the meditation, the moving practices help us to connect to what's happening in the here and now. There's also a balance to be found though, in that taking that broader view from time to time, looking to the past, looking to the future, can actually give us greater context and a richer and more meaningful experience of the present moment. So you might choose to do this in different ways. The end of the year is a natural point for us. It could be considered a bit arbitrary in some ways, but a lot of our life and activity is often oriented to some degree around the calendar year, and so it's a convenient reminder to have a review from time to time. You might also find it useful to do it more frequently than that as well, maybe to review on a monthly basis, look at the past month and the coming month, or look at it on a weekly basis, past week, coming week, or even on a daily basis, At the end of your day, have a look back over your day. You know, look at the successes, look at the challenges, acknowledge them as part of your experience. This helps you to process them. It helps you to be more present and more free in your current experience. And then also look forward to the next day, to prime yourself to be able to experience that more fully and probably more effectively as well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the vlog. Another diverse topic to talk about. I apologize about the wind noise. I did try to record these clips that I've put together as much as possible in spots where there wasn't too much wind, but there's just wind around, so I've done the best I can. If you did like the vlog, please like, comment, subscribe, share, all those good things, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.